Hello, hello. My name's David Jones, at Tenacious D Jones on Twitter, Tenacious D Jones on DraftKings. You might have seen me there. And I'm here on the Mayo Media Network to talk to you about Week 7 NFL Thursday Night Football Showdown slate on DraftKings. That's what we're doing today. You're watching us on YouTube. Please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all the great content that comes out of the Mayo Media Network. So, what are we talking here? We're talking the New York Football Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. Somehow, both of these teams have been struggling so much, a lot due to injury, a lot due to a developing quarterback, maybe in the Giants, you could say. And both teams are just, they do not have their regular starters on the field, and quite frankly, haven't had them all season. However, no one was expecting much from these two teams to begin with, but they can win their division. Someone's going to the playoffs. We'll see who it is. Vegas thinks the Eagles are going to win, or Vegas at least thinks that the public thinks that the Eagles are going to win. Minus 4.5 is the spread, and the over/under is only 45 points. That is low for a football game with two bad defenses, isn't it? We'll just have to see. I've heard some sharps saying they like the under. I think I would lean the over a little bit, but that's not me giving any financial advice. That's just me thinking out loud here. What I will do is give you financial advice about the Showdown slate on DraftKings. So pull it up. Let's talk about it. The most expensive player is Carson Wentz on the slate. If you want to roster him at captain, it costs you, of course, 1.5x what you'd pay to roster anyone at captain, as you would at flex. He is $16,200. I'm going to stop right there. Usually at the captains, we like the best value. I like the best value. It doesn't necessarily have to be the highest scoring player on the slate if you have quality flex positions going all the way down the roster, if that makes sense. You need the best value so you can fit in all those points at your flex position. However, today I'm doing it a little bit differently because there seems to be plenty of value to make up for having to stick the best value captain in the captain spot, so I want the highest scoring player in the captain spot. I hope that made sense. It made sense in my mind. Not sure it made sense when it came out of my mouth. You want the highest scoring player on this Thursday night football slate. So it's probably going to be a quarterback, or it's going to be a running back, someone like Freeman, or it's going to be a wide receiver who catches 2 touchdown passes. Carson Wentz, I'm actually going to consider here at the captain spot, and I'm going to consider him my number 1 captain. So he's obviously the quarterback of the Eagles. The Eagles are going to have Desean Jackson back. That, of course, helps. They've got Ward playing in the wide receiver 3 position. Fulgham playing in the 2, who has a touchdown in 3 of his last 3 games. That's not bad. All the 3 games that he's got a snap in, I think, this season. However, they're going to be missing Zach Ertz, who's a big deal for them. They are most likely not going to have Dallas Goedert. If they were to have Goedert, that would help them significantly. They're also going to be missing Miles Sanders, the starting running back for the Eagles, leaving Boston Scott and Corey Clement, 2 guys that I think can catch passes. Just like Miles Sanders, obviously not the same talent as Miles Sanders, but I still think that this offense can keep moving the ball like they did at the second half of the game versus the Ravens, versus these New York Giants. Fun fact, Philly has given up 1.8 touchdown passes this season, 1.8 touchdown passes per game. The Giants have given up 1.7 touchdown passes per game. Both of these defenses can be beat with the pass. So Carson Wentz, we're going to start with him at captain. Think he's in a good spot. He put up 30 last week against the Ravens in their overrated pass defense. He had struggled before that, but it was against Pitt. He still almost got to 20. At San Francisco, both of the away games, he got right around 20. Against the Bengals, he got about 22. I think he can eclipse 20 here. I think he can get you around 23, 24 going against the Giants. If you have Wentz at your captain spot, you need to have a couple pass catchers, obviously, in the flex spot. So Carson Wentz is my captain 1, $16,200. Daniel Jones is next up at $15,600. Daniel Jones has been struggling tremendously as well this season. So before last week, it took him 5 weeks to throw a touchdown pass. The first game, he got 2 touchdown passes. The next 5 weeks, 0 touchdown passes. That's terrible. You got to figure it out quicker than that, Daniel Jones. Getting a touchdown against the Washington football team last week isn't getting you out of the hot water. You have to do better. You are the quarterback. You have to throw touchdown passes. I don't like it. I don't like him at captain. I just don't like him as a football player, quite frankly. Going to get beat up for that, but I'm not so sure he's that good. He's got 3 touchdown passes. It's week 7. not good. So I'm not considering him a captain. Maybe I would put him at a flex if I had the salary because he is the quarterback. Next down, you have Slayton, the wide receiver for the New York Giants, $13,800. I think he is probably going to be the healthiest. Well, Golden Tate's healthy, but the healthiest and the best combination of wide receiver that the Giants have, and he's a big play guy. We know this about Darius Slayton. He's been looking good so far this season. He had a touchdown last game against Washington, and he had the 2 touchdowns from Daniel Jones in week 1. So every touchdown pass that Daniel Jones has thrown this season has gone to Darius Slayton. I did not even realize that. That is interesting. Darius Slayton, you can consider him at captain if you think Jones is going to get going, but I doubt he catches 2 touchdown passes. Philly's bad. It's just one of those plays. If you think he's going to go off, put him in there. But you also have New York Giants getting back Sterling Shepard, probably. Maybe. I shouldn't say probably. He's a game time decision. He could play. He's been practicing somewhat limited so far this week. We have to keep an eye on that. As I'm recording this the day before, we do not know. If he is out, then Slayton I would consider more at the captain. I definitely I definitely like him at the flex spot. Underneath him, you have Fulgham, the Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver. He has a touchdown, like I said earlier, in the past 3 games, $13,200. I think he's still going to stick around once his team gets fully healthy, once they get Alshon Jeffrey back, who will not be playing in this game, once they get Rieger in the mix. Fulgham's been too good to knock down too much. I mean, to knock out of those starting wide receivers. I think there's been talks about them potentially wanting to trade Alshon Jeffrey. They've got a guy like Fulgham to stick around and play in the starting wide receivers. I think he's looked good. And I like him. Again, you could put him in the captain. I'd want his quarterback before him there. I don't think he's going to catch 2 touchdown passes against the Giants. I think he might catch 1. And if he's catching 1, Wentz at captain, that makes a lot of sense to me. He's a good play. Now we're getting down to Boston Scott, the running back, who's priced up more than I would have liked to have seen. These prices came out after Miles Sanders was ruled out, I would have to think. He's $12,600 at the captain spot. I do not think that I want him at the captain spot. So if we're looking at rushing touchdowns, Philly is allowing 1.7 rushing touchdowns per game this season. The Giants are allowing only 1 per game. So you want to target Philly with the running game with someone like Devonta Freeman, as opposed to targeting the Giants with running backs who are going to be splitting carries with Boston Scott and Corey Clement. So Boston Scott, he's going to be fine at the flex spot. But when Miles Sanders was out the first game, he only got 2 more touches than Clement. As far as the passing game goes, I think they both got 2 receptions. It's a pretty even split. All you're gonna need to do is someone like Clement rip off a long one, or if you want to play Boston Scott, him rip off a long one. It's really up to you. If you want to go Boston Scott over Clement, I probably would too, but it's closer than some might think. Evan Engram, the tight end. Next one down, $12,000 at the captain spot. I don't want to roster him at the captain spot. I think it's a pretty good spot for old Engram. He hasn't gotten going much. He hasn't done as much as I wanted to him with Sterling Shepard out, that's for sure. It wasn't like last season. But he's a decent price going up against the 29th ranked defense against the tight end. He can definitely get going this game because the Eagles, quite frankly, they're just terrible. Their defense is just terrible. This is the same defense that gave 4 touchdowns up to Chase Claypool just 2 short weeks ago. Engram, he's a good flex spot. He's not going to get you a goose egg, but the problem with any pass catcher for the New York Giants is that Daniel Jones doesn't know how to throw touchdowns. So do what you want with that. Devonta Freeman, I will consider. He's underneath him at the captain spot, $11,100. I just read you off some stats about how it's easier to run on Philly. It's easier to throw on Philly than the Giants if you're going by touchdowns alone, which is something that I want to do because I want touchdowns. Freeman, he is now in his 3rd week, I think, is the starting running back for the New York Giants. I might be wrong about that. Might be 4th. He got in there 4 weeks ago, actually, just didn't get the full workload. He's up to his full workload right now. Should see, last week he got 18 touches, week before that 17, something similar to that. He got targeted through the air 5 times combined the past 2 weeks, and we know Freeman from the Atlanta days, he can get involved in the passing game. I mean, I don't think his hands are that bad. I used to watch him very closely, but he's always had someone behind him that's been catching passes. So now it would be someone like Wayne Gallman when it used to be Coleman for the Atlanta Falcons. But he can still do it. I think he's a good captain spot. I think he's going to hit and exceed value against the Philadelphia defense, and he's someone that I'm interested in at the captain spot, and I like him a lot in the flex. I want him in the majority of my teams, but never go 100% on one player. You saw that with DeAndre Hopkins on Monday. You saw that with Ezekiel Elliott. You essentially see it every week. Every time you think you know what's going to happen, doesn't always happen like that. So we want to go down from Freeman, Alshon Jeffrey. He's not going to play. I think I mentioned that earlier. Sterling Shepard. They were talking about him playing. I'm seeing he's on IR right now on DraftKings, but he might play. He's potential to play, so keep an eye on that. Watch that tag. Golden Tate, he's going to be starting for the New York Giants. Last week, bad game. 1 target, 1 reception. But that's kind of an outlier for me. I think he's going to be back up to his normal workload. He hasn't really broken out yet this season. But if you go back and just look that they are targeting him all the same, his quarterback just can't throw touchdowns. Maybe Tate breaks out. He does like the primetime game, so Tate could do it. He's cheap enough, definitely. His salary is $6,600 if you're just going to play him at the flex position, as opposed to $9,900 at the captain. You can go over to Golden Tate. Matter of fact, he is too cheap. I'm switching over to flex prices now because I'm not considering rostering anyone else at the captain spot. So going down from Tate, Jalen Hurts is the next up that you can maybe consider. He's 6,000. The Eagles are so beat up. They don't have their running back. They're going to scheme up a couple plays for Hurts. Hurts might get to throw a pass or run a couple. I'm not that high on Jalen Hurts overall. People are going to scoff at that, but I watched him for 4 years at Alabama and at Oklahoma. I know too much about him. I don't think he's going to stick around in the NFL, and I hope none of my Alabama alma mater friends see that. I just don't think it's going to happen. He's going to be playing like a Taysom Hill role in this game, and that's what you're going to get. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. We'll see what happens with him in the years to come, but I think he might have got drafted a little high. Keep going down. Desean Jackson is back for the Philadelphia Eagles. That is going to be a bright spot for their offense. No, it's not Desean Jackson from years ago where no one can catch him, but the guy's still fast. He is still a good wide receiver, especially for what Philadelphia is working with here. I still think, even though Jackson's back, Fulgham, as good as he's been playing, is going to be targeted more this game, but Desean Jackson, he's that long downfield threat. We already know this. He's only played in 3 games so far this season. The first 3 games, no touchdown. The yards were kind of suppressed, especially that Cincinnati game. I think that's the one he got hurt in. But he's cheap enough, $5,800, to give him plenty of ownership. And all you want from Desean Jackson, a few catches, 1 big play, and I have more confidence, again, I'll say it, in the Eagles passing game than I do the Giants. You've got Corey Clement, the backup wide receiver or backup running back, for Philly, $5,200. I like him quite a bit too. He's going to get touches in this game. I know he's listed as the RB2, but I mentioned it earlier. He only got 2 less attempts than Boston Scott the first time Miles Sanders was out. Look, Boston Scott's a better running back, you would have to think, but all it takes is for 1 big play for Corey Clement to get going. However, the pricing did come out. I'm sure of it now after the Miles Sanders injury, because he's up to $5,200. That's probably too much for him. If you go back and compare through the weeks, you had him at $200, $1,000, $2,200, $4,800. That was a week after the Miles Sanders injury, and then $1,800. He's probably too expensive, actually, to consider at $5,200. You would need a huge play from Corey Clement, and I'm not so sure we're going to get it because we usually don't. Greg Ward underneath him, Philadelphia wide receiver, so he should still be starting here. No Alshon Jeffrey. The only wide receivers that you can really consider from the Philadelphia Eagles are Ward, Jackson, Fulgham, and maybe Hightower. Maybe J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He might get a target. You'd have to get super lucky for him to get in the end zone. It's a showdown. It could happen. Greg Ward, I do like at the flex position for sure, only $4,800. He's been involved every single week, no matter what the injuries are. In some games, he got 11 targets one game, 7 twice. Last game, it was only 3. Should swing back up. I think Greg Ward is a fantastic play at a fantastic price going against the New York Giants, who are a bad defense. I skipped over Richard Rodgers. So Richard Rodgers is someone you have to look at with the Philadelphia Eagles missing Zach Ertz and probably Dallas Goedert. I would have to think when Ertz got hurt last game, Rodgers went 3 for 3. He should be the starting tight end here again, and he is cheap enough. $5,000. All you got to do, you know the drill. Get a few catches, get some yardage, and we'll see. But that's your starting tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think he's going to give you a goose egg. I doubt that he goes out and just absolutely smashes. But, it could happen. They have to have bodies on the field. He's just okay. I would highly prefer Ward over him, though. Now we're getting to the defenses, the Eagles defense, the Giants defense. I think the Eagles probably win this game. So I'm going to have to go, I guess I would go with the Eagles defense. I think one of these defenses is probably going to be in the winning lineup. The offense have been bad. They're so beat up. Both teams are going to get sacks. Whoever gets a turnover is going to be, on the winning lineup. So if I think the Eagles probably win this, then I'd have to go with their defense. However, if I'm making multiple lineups, I do not mind mixing in the Giants defense. Typically like defenses at home, which is what you're going to get from Philadelphia here. So they're okay. I do not mind these defenses at all. But keep in mind, if you play someone like, if you were to play Daniel Jones at your captain spot, don't put the Eagles defense in a flex spot because then you're betting against yourself. If your captain goes off, then he's crushing your defense. You don't want to do something like that. I tend to limit my guys going against a defense to 2 max. And I don't even like doing that. I usually like 1. But if you're using, for say, the Eagles defense, then you're going to stack up the rest of your team with mostly Eagles players. Looking down a little bit lower, some of these cheap guys perhaps. You've got the kickers. Go with whoever you think is going to win the game. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside we talked about. $2,400. It's probably still too much for Whiteside. Where's Gallman? Gallman's down here at $800. That's probably too cheap for Gallman. Even with Freeman starting, he got 5 attempts in week 5. He didn't get any attempts in week 6, but in week 4 he got 6. He got targeted through the air twice. I don't know why he was written out of the script. Maybe I'm forgetting something about that last week, but he should be the running back too. Yeah, he should be the running back too. Dion Lewis got in last week. That's what was happening. So you've got Dion Lewis in that backfield as well. He didn't get any rushing attempts, but he got 1 through the air. He got 10 yards on it. Look, both of those guys are essentially punts. I would like Gallman over Lewis, but both of them are going to be threats through the passing game, but both are pretty cheap. So if you're ranking them, if you're just hitting the bottom of the barrel, Gallman over Lewis is probably what I would do. Trying to see who else we have here. Hightower, $1,200. He's going to be the 4th wide receiver on the field for the Philadelphia Eagles. Desean Jackson coming back certainly does hurt him. He got 4 targets last game, 1 reception, but it was a big one for 40 yards. Before that, he's just okay. 4 targets, 6 targets, 2 targets, but now you've got a big wide receiver back in Desean Jackson. He's cheap enough to consider it flex, but you need every other single one of your plays to hit. See if there's anyone else down here that I'm interested in at all. No, not a lot going on. I'll point out that Kroom is a tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles that got in on the action a little bit, but not a lot of snaps. I wouldn't expect much for him. It's Richard Rodgers at the tight end position. And then lastly, here's a guy, Austin Mack. So let me get all Austin Mack up here. Austin Mack, $400 play. Last week, he got 1 target, 1 reception. This is a punt play. He's $400, though. It should be Mack, Slayton, Tate, and Sterling Shepard, perhaps, if Sterling Shepard plays. If Sterling Shepard is out, then you want to play Austin Mack. You want to play Austin Mack because C.J. Board is not going to play, who was getting the snaps when Shepard was out. So if Shepard is out, your wide receiving core for the Giants is Slayton, Tate, and Mack, and then Gallman and Lewis. So you would want to look at Austin Mack there a lot. Only $400, and he would be one of the only bodies on the field that can catch a football. They're not going to prefer to go to him. The quarterback is bad, but they might be forced to. So, to wrap it all up, seems like that was a long video, but I had a lot to talk about. I'm trying to win some money here. My favorite captains are Carson Wentz, Devonta Freeman, and Fulgham. Those are my 3 favorite captains on DraftKings Showdown slate. I hope that you guys take it down. It's $400K to first. Here's another little tip. You don't have to use all your salary on these things. Whoever uses all their salary is either going to split $400K with 400K people, or if you don't use all your salary, you leave a couple thousand on the table, you got a lot better shot of getting up to that 400K by yourself. That's all. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to hit the like button and come follow me on Twitter at TenaciousDJones, and come read all of the great content over on FTN Daily, FTN Bets, and FTNFantasy.com. Thanks for watching and good luck.